give you what I can today. These scattered ashes that I hid away, I lay it all
Yeah, sit right next to him, Phil.
at your
Wherever you want to go.
feet. From the corners of my deepest shame, these hidden places where I've worn your name, show me the love. Say I believe. What's up, brother? Oh, help me lay down. Oh, Lord, I lay it down. Oh, let this be where I die. My Lord, with thee crucified, be lifted high, my kingdom's fall, once and for all, once and for all. There is victory in my Savior's blood, in the crimson flowing from the cross. Pour over me, pour over me, yeah. Oh, let this be where I die. My Lord, with thee crucified, be lifted high, as my kingdom's fall, once and for all, once and for all. Oh, help me lay it down. Oh, Lord, I'll lay it down. Help me to lay it down. Oh, Lord, I'll lay it down. Oh, let this be where I die. My Lord, with thee crucified, be lifted high, as my kingdom's fall, once and for all, once and for all. Thanks, Dave.
Well, how you doing, folks? This is Perry with Painter's Dream Productions, and I am so excited to introduce not only you guys, but those who are watching, to Chasing Lions Music.
Yes.
You will not forget this day. Y'all are the first ones who are physically, while we've already built the website and Facebook, but y'all are the first to witness this interview. And that you will remember this interview for the rest of your life, because it is God who's going to do a miracle through these gentlemen and through the lives moving forward. So just know that you've been chosen to witness this. We didn't choose you. You were here already. God chose you. And the whole purpose of this video is to give you guys an opportunity to talk about who you are.
Amen.
Because we already know who you serve, we already know who your Father is. But why don't you take a few moments and share with these folks and those who are watching where the idea of Chasing Lions came into and where you see this ministry going.
Well, I'd have to say that this all come about from a, I don't know, I guess you'd say a dream, where I guess just to take you back a little bit, I'm 42 years old, going on 42, and when I was 16, which is not far off from y'all's ages, I moved out of my mom's house and just kind of was running around living in just whatever house I could live in with friends and chasing the world. I played in a little southern rock band for a while and was playing in bars at 16 years old. And when I moved to, I met my wife and we got married in 95. We had our first child and we moved to Wisconsin. And I managed to stay out of music for about 6 years and joined another band there, and that was already in full steam. They're a pretty popular band at the time, and it was just full on. And as I started playing with these guys, I started realizing that I started seeing the really, really dark side of music and the entertainment business. We've had, I've been there. I've had guitar endorsements. I've played in large places with a lot of big crowds. And the thing is when God wakes you up and starts talking to you, I was living a life chasing a dream of being a rock star because I thought that was going to be the answer to everything. I thought, I'd have a big house, I'd have lots of nice cars, I'd have any guitar I wanted to buy. My kids would never want for anything, but those were all things that I was trying to do with my own abilities. And one night I came home from one of the bars I was playing at, and it was about 3 o'clock Sunday morning. I got down on my knees. I got saved at a young age, but I didn't really realize what I had inside of me. I didn't realize who I was until that night. I got down to pray, and I was always asking God for things that I wanted, but I really wasn't asking Him what He wanted for my life, because that's what it's about. It's not about what we want, it's about what He wants. He's the one who created us. He put us here. He has a purpose for each and every one of us. He says that even the very numbers of our hair is numbered on our head. He has a purpose. He knows exactly what He has for us. And somewhere at some point in your life, He's either already giving you that or He's going to give you that. And if you can either listen to it or you can do what I did and try to run and try to do these things under your own power. But one night I was down praying, and you kids said, my son, he was about 4 years old at the time, and he never really talked much. He never really had a whole lot to say. You'd ask him a question, he would just shrug, or and so about 3 o'clock in the morning, I get home, unload my truck into the garage, all my equipment, and creep in the room about 3:30, and I get in the floor and I start praying because I just had this anxiety about me, an anxiety, a fear of just what's happening with my life. I just pretty much woke up and looked at myself and was like, man, who are you? Because I didn't even know who I was anymore. And so I get down and I start praying, and I said, Lord, I want to see my kids get saved. I want them to know You and have a relationship with You. And as plain as I'm talking to you, I heard God speak to me, and He said, how can I save them if You won't take them to church? And I don't know if you've ever had God come to you at a point in your life like that yet, but I'll tell you, it scared me to death. And I jumped up and turned around because I literally thought somebody was standing right behind me in the room. And the next morning, I'm laying in bed, that same morning, a few hours later, Tyler comes to me and crawls in my bed. He just woke up early, and he crawls up on my lap, and he's sitting there just staring at me, little fella, and with the most puzzled look I've ever seen on his face, he looks at me and says, "Are we going to church?" And of course I was shocked that he even said anything. And I said, "What did you say?" And he said, "Are we going to church or something?" Like somebody had told him that we were going to church. And so I got up that day, went to church, took both of them, and asked God that He would change my life in a miraculous way, that He would change things in my life that only He could change, because I knew of my own power I wasn't going to be able to do it. And there's a longer part to that story, but we ended up moving here 10 years ago, and I was sitting down one day listening to some bands, some different Christian bands, and I heard a couple bands that sounded a lot like the bands that I used to play in. And God told me, He said, "You know, that part of your life, though it was not my will for you to be playing in bars and doing those things, that is all not a waste of your life. You've learned something there that I can use to go and witness to kids with you who do like that kind of music, who do, you know, like the edgier stuff. And we're not that edgy, but we try, you know. But the most important thing is, and the most important message I want to bring to you kids is that I wasted a lot of my life thinking that I was heading in the right direction, when all along I was going the opposite way. And it took me a long time to get turned around and get back to the point I'm at now. Learning to trust God, learning to believe His promises, and know that He still heals and that He provides, and that I didn't need a rock band to provide for me, because I have a Heavenly Father that breathed life into me for a reason and a purpose. And it wasn't to be playing in bars, and it wasn't to be going out and just living like, you know, a wild child. It was, He just had a purpose for me. And some people might think that 41's old, but I think I'm just getting started. And I don't want you kids to grow up and miss 20 years of opportunity that God can use you to touch somebody's life. Because it's easy to go to school and to think, you know, I know you guys are probably into diesel trucks and, you know, tuning them out or whatever, your cars and stuff. It's easy to let those things put a blinder on you, because that's how the adversary works. He wants to take life and throw it in your way and take your focus off of God. But God has a purpose for you. And that's pretty much why I'm starting this band, is to go out and to witness to not just kids, but other people who have a purpose in their life. You weren't just put here for no reason at all, just to kind of skate through life and work on cars or trucks and go party and hang out. We were put here for a much bigger purpose. And mine just happens to be music. So,
Why don't you play another one?
I will. I'll play another song for y'all real quick. We got one leaving. That's okay, honey.
Sorry.
That's okay.
My sister's here to get
It's an
me.
honor to get to play for y'all.
Thank you so much. You are amazing. Thank you.
I would like to tell y'all that I'll play you a song real quick, and then I'll let Perry ask me some
Facebook,
questions.
Chasing Lions Music, Facebook.
But I don't know where y'all are from. I know y'all probably all growed up here. I was born in Dayton, Ohio in 1976. And we left Ohio when I was 8 years old. And from what I can remember, we came to Tennessee up around Jamestown, Allard area, very briefly. And then we moved to Florida. And then from Florida, we moved to Georgia. And we kind of bounced back and forth from Tennessee to Georgia, staying with my grandparents. And I lived in a lot of homes growing up, a lot of homes. We moved a lot. I couldn't even tell you how many schools I've been in. I don't have any of y'all ever moved, had to move and change schools. Yeah, it's hard, ain't it? It's hard when you get to a new school and you're trying to make new friends, and everything's so much different than where you came from. And these kids are different. When we came to Tennessee, I got to tell you, it was like a culture shock for me because I lived in Marietta, Georgia, in the city. So going from the city to Jamestown, Tennessee at York, it was like hillbilly city, and so it was hard. Got in a lot of fights because people didn't like me. They didn't like my long hair and my earrings, and but it's real hard when you have to move around a lot. And when God told me that I was starting this band, I told him if I was going to start this band, he was going to have to give me a song and prove to me that this is right where he wanted me to be. And I sat down one night and started praying about it. And within an hour, I had this song written, and I didn't have a second verse for it. And, you know, I went to bed feeling a little defeated, you know, even though most people don't just write songs in an hour. Whole songs anyways. I felt a little defeated, but God was telling me just rest. And I woke up the next morning and literally grabbed the pen and paper off of my nightstand and wrote the second verse within 5 minutes. And the song was done. I think I called Christian and I played it to him over the phone and said, "Hey man, this is a song God's given me. What do you think?" And he was like, "I'm in." So it's I have a few songs that talk a lot about my past, but this one song really says a lot about where I came from, what I've been through, and where I'm going. The song's called Home, and I know that out of all the homes I lived in growing up and all the uncertainties of life that always tried to that Satan tried to just use against me the whole time and make me feel like I never belonged and was never going to belong. And with this song, God not only showed me that I do have a home and I do belong, but that this is exactly where he wants me and what he wants me to do. So we'll play you a Chasing Lions song. Yes.
Okay. 1, 2. When I was
kind of new. You know, I feel like things happen in life for a reason. I feel like you guys are sitting up here for a reason when we got here. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, God knows what He's doing. And the band I used to play in, the guitar player that graciously accepted me into his band, you know, I mean, he's one of the most talented guitar players that I've ever had an opportunity to play with. He was just living life, man. Partying, did more drugs than anybody I've ever seen. He's a great friend. A few years ago, I was on Facebook surfing around, trying to see what was new, what everybody was posting, and I just click on a thing. I seen his name, and I clicked on it, seen his photo, and when it popped up, it was his obituary. And he was 35 years old, and he died from a heroin overdose. And he left 2 little girls behind, a daughter that's right around my oldest daughter's age, and then a younger one who's about Tyler's age. And to know that those 2 little girls have to live without their dad now, I mean, just broke my heart. And I want to take a message out to tell people that all that stuff just doesn't mean anything, and it only seems fun for a season. And I can tell you from his words to me that he never realized at the time how sick he was going to be and how hard it would be to try to fight that battle. And it just seems so fun at the time, and it seems like, you know, nothing can hurt you, but I can tell you that there's some stuff out there now that it only takes one time, and it's got a grip on you like you've never ever could imagine, and it'll take your life away from you in a heartbeat. But God has so much in store for these kids, man. I feel like there's an awakening coming in this area through churches, and I just feel like God's getting ready to start waking up His people. I'm glad to be a part of it. It'll be fun to be a part of it. I don't want to babble too much, but I'm looking forward to this journey in my life right now. But I wish I didn't wait this long to get to that point. Amen.
Why don't you spend a few moments and tell us about you, sir?
Mr. Christian Cudney.
Well, guys, I can tell you this. I lived a very different life than Keith. A lot of the same inner workings of it, a lot of the same things, but, you know, where Keith moved around a lot, my father was in the movie business. Started in the movie business at a very young age, very well-known stuntman. Done many movies, was fortunate enough to live in a, you know, had great parents. My mom died in my dad's arms. You know, my mom took her last breath in my dad's arms. It's kind of mixed emotions, you know. I know where my mom went, but I hated to see her leave. Yeah. My testimony really is kind of different than most. It's one of those where, you know, you think God will give you a shot, right? I got this one shot. Let's just say thankfully He doesn't. Okay. So, you know, I'm 45 years old. I'm a little older than Keith. I got 3 kids that are about your age. I have 4 children total. If somebody would have come to me and said, hey, when you're 45 years old, you're going to have 4 children, 2 grandchildren, your life is going to have, you're going to have almost, I don't want to say I don't have anything in my life. When I say I don't have anything, I don't have anything tangible, right? So things, don't put your weight in things.
Right.
Don't ever put your weight in things, because I can tell you I have more now with very little tangible things than I ever had with the abundance that I had in my life, ever. I give you the kind of the latter part of the story of my testimony. April 22nd of 2014, I'd gotten in a fight with my then wife, and I've ridden motorcycles all my life. Again, my father in the movie business. We started off real young, real little. So I've ridden all my life. Love it. I still love it. But I had gotten in an argument with my wife, and I had left Allgood and come up to Livingston. And I went down towards the hospital and turned around and came back. And as I was coming back towards Allgood, it was just about midnight. There were some friends of mine fueling up. They had on bikes, and they were fueling up at the BP station. So I stopped in and talked to them for a few minutes, and they were about to shut off the lights, I guess. And so I took off and I started going down 111. And just as I got into Rickman, I was doing, you know, the speed limit, 65, 70 miles an hour on my bike. It's a cool spring evening. And I don't know what happened, but I looked down, and when I looked up, there's 3 deer in front of me. Now, if any of you have ever ridden a motorcycle, you know you've got choices to make, and they got to happen now. So my first thought was get rid of the bike. So I laid the bike down on 111. Hit my right side, went right side down first, threw the bike out and got away from it, hit the deer. Bike slid across the road, went down in the gully up, and actually there's a field there. It's just before the dollar store on the right hand side. So I hit the ground and rolled and slid, went down into the gully. And of course it's about midnight. And I'm laying there and I can't breathe. I can't catch my breath. Now I know my phone is in the fairing of my motorcycle, which is from here, 20 feet away. And I'm trying to breathe. And if you've ever fallen off a swing set in a playground, you know what that's like. That kind of, you can't, your muscles are trying, but you can't. And all of a sudden, it opened up. And I was like, oh, okay, so now I'm breathing. Now I've got to get to the phone, which is in the bike. I had heard a tractor trailer kind of slow down as it had gone past, and it picked back up speed. So no one had stopped. I mean, why would that? I mean, it's dark. The motorcycle can't be really seen. So I went over and I picked up the motorcycle. Instinct took over. Adrenaline took over. Picked up the motorcycle and I threw my leg over it, hit the button, and it started. So I rode the motorcycle from Rickman all the way down into Allgood to my house. I get to the house. I was uncontrollably shaking by the time I got to the house. Got in the house. The woman who I'd had this argument with, I had to wake her and get her to understand that I had had a motorcycle accident. And she didn't believe me. And I was getting aggravated. I'm like, why do you not believe me? I'm standing here, I'm in pain, obvious pain, I'm shaking. Why do you not believe me? So she said, where do you want to go to the hospital? And I said, let's go to Livingston. It was the closest. So she put me in a car and took me to Livingston. My best friend at the time, who has since passed away, immediately came up there and was sitting with me. And, they did the typical x-ray. I was broken from here to here. All my ribs were broken down this side. I was, pretty beat up and banged up. And I get home. They sent me home. They said, you got to go see an orthopedic surgeon. Okay. So they gave me some stuff to keep me comfortable, sent me home. I get home, and I call my dad. My dad lives in Arizona. I told him what's going on, and the funny thing was, he said, well, how'd it happen? His first question out of his mouth. Not, are you okay? How did it happen? So I told him what went on, and he said, well, you did the right thing. I said, well, thanks, Dad. So I'm talking to him on the phone, and I look down, and the edge of the couch is right next to me, and I had taken my leather jacket off and laid it down on the ground. Now, every one of you in here has a cell phone, and you've dropped it on the ground. And if you stood here and dropped it on the ground and you picked it up, you'd see a mark somewhere on it. Well, what if I told you a 250-pound man hit the ground at by that time, probably by the time I anchored on the brakes and threw it down, at 50 some miles an hour. And I picked up a leather jacket, and there's not one single mark on it. Not one. Not a bruise, not a scratch, not a scrape, nothing. I still have the jacket to this day. That told me that God said, I'm not done with you yet. All the things that I thought I did that removed myself from God, all the distance that I thought I put myself away from our Father, all I had to do was turn around because he was right here the entire time. If you would have asked me at that time, hey, in 2017, do you think you'd be in a position at a church to be a youth pastor? No. I never completely walked away from God because God has always taken care of me. He's never left me hungry. He's never left me lame or miserable. He's taught me lessons. He's taught me I've taught myself some lessons, and he's seen me through it. And you know, guys, I don't want to preach to you, but I can tell you this. When I accepted Christ into my life, when I accepted him as not only as my Lord, but my Lord and my Savior, at that point in time, there was a lot of trash that was flushed from my life. There's a resurgence of who you are. There's a revival of you being a person, a human, and you have the ability to touch somebody. And I don't care how minuscule you see it, how big you see your testimony or your story or what you've lived so far in the life that you've had. But I can tell you of 7-year-old kids who have told their testimony and made 45-year-old men break to their knees and cry, thinking of what they've lived through, what God has brought them through and delivered them. So it really does make a difference when you start spending time with the Lord, when you start. And here's the other thing. There's a great preacher from Jamestown. His name's James Moody. I love James. He's hilarious. And he said, a lot of people think God's not fun. God's a blast. He made the platypus. Have you ever seen a platypus? They're hilarious, okay? So he's fun, and he's got a plan for you. And the more you put your sights on him, the more the outside world doesn't matter. The world of your flesh doesn't matter. It's so much fun to be able to raise my children, to have the relationship I have with the woman I'm going to marry. And with God ahead of that, leading us, it's that triangle where we put the God in front of us and we follow him. It brings us closer together. And not only does it bring us closer together, it brings the entire family closer together. Do we have struggles? Yeah. Do we have fights? Absolutely. Absolutely. But putting God first in your life will make a big difference. And just remember, I mean, your testimony means something to somebody. Somebody out there needs to hear your testimony, because that's going to be what we're called to do, which is bring someone else into the kingdom. Word.
Now, when we got here, I said to you that what you were about to experience is life-changing. Was I not telling the truth? Now, do all of you know Christ personally? Okay.
Awesome.
See, he didn't understand when him and I first met, and what's kind of strange about our story is that I pastored 3 churches, but I was also an 80s heavy metal drummer back in the late 80s, early 90s, and I was as lost as a beach ball in outer space. And God saved me at 30 and moved me from Chicago to Tennessee and didn't tell me why. And I've been here 13 years. And on my journey, I just got my first tattoo last week from him.
Right, that's right.
He needed a website, and it says Daddy's Girls. I got 3 daughters. It's going to have a red heart with their initials in it. And when him and I started to work together, I said, brother, let me tell you something. This is not an accident. Okay, it's not a coincidence that we're here. And he said, well, what are we going to talk about when we get there to shoot the video? I said, don't worry about it, because I've done hundreds of these, and I have allowed God to move. It's funny, I say I allowed. I didn't have a choice. You guys were here when we got here. I already knew ahead of time what you were going to go through, but you didn't. But as I told him, we don't have to worry about, if it's God's ministry, he will put the people where they need to be, and this is just proof to you, my brother. that what you're doing is the right thing. In case you wondered,
No, I don't wonder at all.
you can't, because it's crystal clear. Now again, the whole purpose of this video, we're going to cut this up in pieces and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
but there is going to be a whole version, because we have to get all of this, because we are making history, or his story.
His story, that's right.
We are. Because if yesterday is his story, and tomorrow is a mystery, what's today? What's it called?
The present.
It's a present. It's a gift.
That's right.
And treat it as such. And know that I wish I was your age, man. I was 190 pounds. I had long hair. I rocked it. And I told God, when you take me back up, I want that body back. If I come with this,
Right.
I want my money back.
my old body
Me
back.
too, I do.
So
I do.
while you're healthy and energetic and have a good body, take care of it. I had an 8-pack that was smoking. Now I got 8 cases that I can't get rid of. So just know that while you are where you are, this friendship that you have, y'all know each other, obviously. You'll never forget this.
That's right.
I mean, this is a gift right here. Especially those socks right there.
They're rocking. I noticed those earlier.
I have a pair very similar to those.
I don't have any good ones.
Same color, but they have like pink flamingos. Those look like pineapples. Right on. Yeah.
So do you have any other songs which you want to play that we can capture? I mean, this has been absolutely perfect, dude.
Yep. Did you play it one already?
No.
Play it. Because keep in mind, while you're doing the interview, I'm going to have the music. I'm pulling out the audio and I'm going to have the music playing over the interview. So we can use the music for many different things.
What's got done?
Just as I am.
All right.
Okay.
Do that.
Okay.
This is originally played on piano. So I kind of try to pick through it the best I can. I'm not the greatest. But this was another one of those. It's usually how it happens to me. I played guitar at church, obviously, and I wanted to learn. I'm sure you guys have heard Just As I Am, right? I know you are young,
Old
but
gospel song.
everybody's heard that old hymnal. You know, just as I am without one plea. So, man, I want to learn that song. Maybe I can do it for invitation one day at church, and for an altar call or something. And so I want to sit down and learn this song. So I got my acoustic out and just kept getting this little. That's a phone. It's Mama. But just when I thought I was going to sit down and learn something, God said, "No, I want to give you something." And He gave me the words of this song, and I was late to go somewhere, so I run out to my car, and I'm still singing this song in my head. And I picked my phone up and I start texting my wife because the second verse just came to me, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't have a pen or paper and this song's coming to me, what am I going to do? I was like, I'll text the words to my wife. So I text her the second verse of the song, and she was like, oh, that's awesome, did you write that for me? And I said, no, it's a song I'm writing, but you know, you can pretend it's for you. So. But I didn't want to change the name of it. I wanted to leave it just like the old hymn, is Just As I Am. So. I was alone, falling apart. I couldn't find the key to my heart. You came to me, showed me the way.
closed my eyes, still I could see all of the bad things that I used to be. But you came to me, you spoke to my heart, you said I forgave you. That's not who you are. So just as I am, you came to me, you gave me life when I couldn't see. Just as I am, you made me see I was not perfect, but you still wanted me. Just as I am, pulled me out of the darkness and into the light. It showed me that I could be free. So I'll take up my cross, I'll follow you, Lord, and be a light for the whole world to see. Just as I am, you came to me, you gave me life when I couldn't breathe. Just as I am, you made me see I was not perfect, but you still wanted me. Just as I am, just as I am, just as I am, just as I am. I think I did good. I broke the rules and had caffeine before I started singing. What? Coffee. Which, by the way, we are at Wired Coffee Co. Wonderful place. You need to come down here and check it out. They got this awesome loft up here where
Scriptures.
all these kids are hanging out. There's scripture hanging everywhere. There's lots of encouraging stuff. Just wonderful people of God, and we thank them a lot for giving us the opportunity to come up here and to do this and let the Lord use us. And by them doing that, the Lord's using them too, and they'll be blessed for it as well.
So on Chasing Lions website, under the schedule, how often will you be performing here?
I have no idea. To be announced. We would like to schedule a night with Wired Coffee Co. to come down and set up and play for everybody. So hopefully you guys will be here with us. Come check it out.
I mean, if you knew on a specific date that
If you want
them
to-
and the
yeah.
rest of their band was going to be here,
or anywhere.
you would not come? Would you not tell your friends about it? We could fill this whole upper area.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, we could fill this whole thing up.
It's amazing to watch youth of today respond. Now, I come from a different area, right? So different geographical area than you guys from. I'm originally born in New Jersey. I'm a Jersey boy. And spent some time in California, right? So my dad worked in the movie business. He was on both sides of the coast. But let me tell you something.
Come on up,
Come on
guys.
in, guys.
Come on up.
If you think about church here compared to there, it's a totally different world. It's a completely different world. This, and it's changing, it's morphing. I talk to my friends up there still. The man who saved me, John Giro, he led me in my sinner's prayer. I reconnected with him after like 30 years of not talking to him. It was the most exciting day in the world. If I had to deal with all of the stuff on Facebook just to see him, that was the greatest part of it. It really was. But it's changing.
Yeah.
It's not about the name on the door. It's not about the name that goes on the cards that you have at your house, or your grandmother put a plaque up on this wall, or your grandparents. It's about your relationship with Christ.
That's right.
It's very much about that, and that's exciting. It's exciting to see you guys have that, and everybody is different. How many of y'all have brothers and sisters? Okay. So let me tell you something from a parent standpoint. you'll say, well, you're not fair to them. You're not fair to me. From a parent standpoint, I've got 4 kids, 2 grandkids, and every one of those children and grandchildren, I parent differently. So if you see that God's doing something for somebody else and they're not doing it for you, it has nothing to do with you, who you are, who He is. It has everything to do with you have to parent differently. And you'll understand that when you become parents and have multiple children.
Yeah.
And I pray you have hundreds, because nobody should ever have to not have children. You'll understand what sleep is right now. Get all you can.
Yeah.
And but you know, guys, it's about your relationship, and we want to be able to bring that to you guys and have you be able to look at something, because I had this conviction today, and you saw the post or the text message I sent to you and Twig. Some of the music that's out there, although it seems like it's not so bad, man, it'll wear you out when you just don't realize it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I do love Million Reasons by Lady Gaga, though. That's an awesome song. That's the only song that she's done. If you've heard it, right?
No, I don't listen to Lady Gaga.
Oh, I know the song.
Why would I tell you? You know me.
I'm surprised when I look at you and I
Dude, I'm telling you. Tell me, y'all. Tell me that's not an awesome song.
Have y'all heard it?
I've heard it. Perry, you're not alone. Maybe it's a drummer thing.
Dude, it is. When you get a chance, Million Reasons. Just listen.
Is there Perry's another one of these pieces to the puzzle that is my life, that God's been building. I feel like a jigsaw puzzle sometimes, and he's just another piece of the puzzle that God's put here to just miraculously show me His love through people that He keeps putting in my life. And he told you earlier he was building a website and maintaining a website for us to help us get this thing rolling. And so I'm just going to ask him, is there anything, can they subscribe to the website? You can go on there and go to our Facebook page and hit like and keep up with us that way. We're going to try to do, I'm going to try to do a Facebook Live at least once a week. I'd like to do one every day, but hey, let's just face it.
Life's busy.
I'm a busy guy, and sometimes it gets hard to just sit down and grab a guitar up and play something. But I would love to be able to eventually start doing a daily devotional where I can get up and share a little piece of my life and what God's doing in my life and how He's changing things and how He can change yours too. So definitely hit that website up and like it, and we'll be definitely posting shows. And I'm gonna actually, when we get done here, go down and see when we can set a night up to come down with Rebecca and them and see if we can't come down and rock this place out for a good hour or so.
Absolutely.
And
Because although he plays acoustic, he also owns an electric guitar. and what he hasn't shared, he shared a tiny bit. But there's this, see, you can take a man out of rock and roll, but you can't take the rock and roll out of the man. And there's something about distortion that there's nothing like it. And I mean, I know like we're probably like old compared to what, but I'm just telling you, when he gets started with that music, you'll see that there isn't anything that God hasn't created that can't change somebody's life.
that's right. That's right.
I've got all that I need here, brother. I'm
This
good.
is the light version, just so you know.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for spending time with us.
Yeah, absolutely.